With us here to talk about the nation at 65, nation building and religion, is one who has had the religion of giving orientation. Matter of fact, he's immediate past orientation special advisor to the Delta State government and even the past governor. Currently, he is the executive director, Core Values Orientation and Leadership Center, Abuja. Nobody else but activist, barrister, Eugene Uzo. It's good to have you right here.
It's my pleasure being here.
I'll have a handshake with you.
Yes, thank you so much. Good morning, Delta.
Good morning to you.
Good morning, Ingrid.
Good morning.
It's nice to be here.
It's been a very long time. It's been a very, very long time. But religion, that's our conversation as it relates to nation building. Nigeria can boast of being the most religious center in the entire world. We can boast of that. I doubt Christianity, Islam, tradition, name it. We have different kinds of religions here and we follow them with our hearts. Yet,
that's why they call Africans that they are too religious.
Yet, many people will say that it doesn't look like we are as holy as our religions. I want you to speak on that as we start this interview right here.
Oh, thank you so much. First, I want to appreciate your management for having me. Let's talk about statehood first. Let's go with state, because you must have a state for a religious to be practiced in it.
Yes.
So, is there a state? Do we really have a state as an entity in Nigeria? Is there statehood? If you take your mind back, they say the founding fathers are the likes of our Zik and the Balewas of blessed memory, the Awolowos of our world, and all others. If my records are anything to go, Zik was born in around 1904. Means after 1914, when they amalgamated Nigeria, he was 10 years old. Maybe Balewa, I think, was 1909 or thereabout, he was 5 years old. Amadou Bello was around, none of them was up to 15 years old. And the question is, who negotiated Nigeria? Who negotiated Nigeria? So for me, it's a contraption of that favored the British oligarchy and their trade and investment in Nigeria, because it was between Lord Lugard and not the core indigenous persons of the north and the north and the southern protectorate. But then that's it. That came Nigeria, and that gave rise to the turbulence we had in 1966 with the first military coup that took out most of these allies. And after that, in '67, Nigeria was plunged into a civil war until the 70s. And from 1970 to 1999, it's been coups and counter-coups. Coups and counter-coups. From the Diagbon coup to the Buhari and to the Babangidas of our world to the Gideon Oka coups, it's been very turbulent. What that tells you is that the fabric of true democracy was not properly negotiated on how we are going to live together. And that's why we have the corruption, we have ethnicity. That's why certain social biases are becoming norm in our system. So the statehood of a Nigeria is surviving by the grace of God. But I can tell you that the Christian religion that I subscribe to, it's quite a fantastic one. I have a lot of respect for this, the Mohammedans, even the African traditional worshippers, who I also subscribe to. But I want to take you back to what happened in the 15th century. You see, the ancient developments in China and Japan was far ahead of Europe and America. But there came the Christian religion through the Puritans. Yes. The Puritans preached corporate social responsibility. The Puritans adopted the commandments of God in the Bible and preached that there is the need to extend a hand of support to your brother and your sister. That you should love your neighbor as yourself. Yes. They codified some biblical ethics to the extent that it became functional in Western Europe and took over the ancient civilization of Egypt and Japan. So what I'm trying to drive at is that one, establishment of a statehood, even where the fabrics of a state is not there, but by marriage, by association, we have a state today, and that state is Nigeria, and I subscribe to it. Away from that, what has been the role of Christianity as a custodian in leadership? And I can tell you that they took to the back seat. While in between the 1520 up to later days, they preached integrity, they preached that hard work pays. In our system, it's not like that. What we have that the church is supposed to do, we have the presence of, for example, internet fraud. It is a norm. We have issues of corruption. It is a norm. We have issues of ethnicity. It is a norm. We have issues of economic imbalance. It is a norm. The church has not come out to shout about it. The church has not come out to play its fundamental role. And Nemo, that could not have it. You don't give what you don't have. You cannot expect the best of statism from a state through the import of the church without the church making its clear-cut import. So the juxtaposition is that we have a climb where the Christian codified laws has worked. Today, Western Europe may not be as religious or as Christian-like as it is, but the bulk of their system, the bulk of their constitution, the bulk of their ethics was drawn from the Holy Book. And as such, it became a way of life. It became a norm to the people unconsciously doing the right thing. Consciously and unconsciously doing the right thing. If you take off the street lights, if you build the street lights in those climes, you will be charged. If you do it here, nothing happens. Law enforcement. If you don't pay your tax, you don't give to Caesar what is Caesar's, you will be charged. If you don't do it here, Imamado, I know somebody. If you want to weaken the fabrics of the institutions of state, it's like a norm to be correct. People see corruption like taking from the national cake. It is not same thing in climes where things work. Now, the average police officer in Germany will die rather than being corrupt. You can't corrupt that system because they see they've owned the system. They believe that if you corrupt the NHS, it will affect their health system. If you correct the law enforcement, for example, the British police, or the New York police, you will corrupt their system. They believe that if you are corrupt, it will affect their pension. So the law and the state is about them. They own it. But here, what we have is ethnicity. Somebody wants to go to State School of Nursing, and the score is the cutoff mark is maybe 300 over 400, and someone that scored 210 wants to go to State School of Nursing, and they are looking at the man at the top to officially influence it for them. And most times that's what happens, without recourse to the fact that when you produce quack doctors, they also come back to us.
Yes.
So the church, religion, not just the church, religion has not played its vital role. Religion took the back seat. But unfortunately, it's as a result of the fact that motivational speakers are mistaken for the calling of God. Motivational speakers are not the calling of God. You don't need to be eloquent to be called. God calls whom he likes.
When Moses was a stammerer.
Moses, some people were stammerers, even deaf and dumb. God can call you to work in his vineyard.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, what we have in this climb, without prejudice to some other churches, is that we preach prosperity. And in the course of preaching that prosperity, we preach miraculous wealth. These things are non-existent in places where we have sound principles that work for wealth creation. And unfortunately, the church is aloof. The budget processes, the church is aloof. They're watching. The insecurity we have, the church has not made a statement to it. And we are already in the Ember month, and you see cars flying for children harvest. Well, I will be invited in my 50s to come and do children harvest because the church wants to raise funds, adult harvest, and a whole lot of things. It's all about what goes into the church in terms of church building. Unfortunately, that's where we are. And Nigeria, for the record, has the highest number of churches within a state. In some state places in Lagos, you can have up to 50 churches in one street. Yeah. But when you look at the level of criminality, we are going down the drain by the day. Then something is actually amiss. The gap in our society stems from the fact that religion, not Christianity alone per se, because even the African traditional religion, they've monetized it. You can see traditional healers or native doctors still using their laptop, keying your name into it, and telling you to get 1 or 2 leaves and then you get well, and people fall for it. So the vulnerability of our people arising from the poor mindset, the poor mentality, the nexus of our thinking is being cashed in by religious organization. And unfortunately, it's not giving us a better society.
So are you saying now that the church does not have any spiritual backing or spiritual guidance to impact the nation building positively?
You only give what you have. Some of the churches are not even spiritually inclined. They are business centers now. The business centers will give you a business-oriented business model for themselves. It's about profit. Some of the churches are actually following the teachings of Christ without prejudice. But their voice is not loud enough. And so you only give what you have. I give you a critical example. Let's fly straight. What has been the input of the church in the present economic situation? Every family in the South has a Christian. Let's remember.
Yeah.
What has been the voice of the church on the issue of Pengasin and Dangote related issues? Yes.
They should have a voice.
They should have a voice.
But many of the pastors would say, many believers rather would say, it's better for Christians to be neutral rather
The
than...
neutrality is what we are attacking here. Nobody is neutral. Every onlooker is either a coward or a traitor. There is nobody that's an onlooker. Because the policies of states on education affects you.
Yeah.
The policies of states on the health affects you. The policies of states on the budget affects me. The policies of state on infrastructure affects us. So it's living in fool's paradise or living in denial to say that the issues of state that bothers you. I know of a particular religious sect that doesn't vote. They said paradise will come and that they will go to. I don't know how they got that interpretation. I respect their view without prejudice. Yeah. But I can tell you that whatever His Excellency Governor of Sheriff Oborowori decides today in our policy structure, that is what he's going to implement to give account of himself at the end of his 4 or 8-year term. So you cannot be a part of a system and live in denial. There is no neutrality.
But would you blame the religious leaders? In 2015, before we had the former president, who is late now, who wasn't exactly very much loved in certain areas, mostly by even the Christian community. We remember there was a particular preacher in the East, Enugu State precisely, who spoke vehemently against the predecessor of this late president, Goodluck Jonathan, and said that Goodluck Jonathan's era is over. Fast forward to later on, this our late president became president, and people hated that particular preacher for ever having said anything against Goodluck Jonathan. So it looks like religious leaders think they should just maintain a neutral role, sit back, preach the gospel of love to your neighbor as yourself, do what is right and what is wrong.
You see, that's where I differ. We cannot continue in sin that grace may abide. That somebody did something right the other day and I didn't work out and they castigated him doesn't mean that it's entirely wrong. That somebody did something wrong doesn't. Look, you keep trying a process.
Yes.
As my last check, the estimated figure of Nigerian population is estimated between 250 and 270 million persons. Yes. And you are just talking of one person. We have
very strong influence. Very strong influence.
No matter how influential is of a denomination. We have well over 50,000 churches in this country, as at my last count. 50,000 churches in this country. In fact, let me tell you, from Okpanam Post Office, the Post Office junction in Okpanam, to ShopRite on Okpanam Road, are taking a sense of, I counted, not the ones inside the street, I counted 154 signposts of churches. 154. It's the biggest institution that sustains a man and his family and the nest of kin. That is the truth. Most of them are registered in the CAC. That is the sustainability trail. And we are saying that we will not go into the economic prosperity of the church. But as since the church is the biggest and the loudest microphone that can speak to the minds of leadership, they should speak into leadership and also get involved, because even the Bible says that where the righteous rules, the people rejoice. So how do you take yourself off a system that affects the entirety of your process and you expect to get a different result?
I'll take you back a little. You mentioned about corruption, how it is thriving in the country. In fact, I'll tell you that a particular corruption index says Nigeria is 145th in the entire world. And you talked about how religious leaders have somehow championed corrupt practices by their body languages. How should government come into the picture? Should government come into the picture? For instance, the governor of Niger State, Umar Rubago, he said they should submit their sermons before they go around to preach. What level of relationship the government should have with churches?
Yes, because I quasi endorse that policy. Okay. You know why? Because the government has seen the gap, the failures, where the church is not playing its role, and the government, instead of the church technically regulating governance is now regulating the church.
So they should submit their assembly.
No. I've heard it somewhere. If that brings a plebiscite democracy, if that reduces prosperity teaching that has taken our people to the back doors of leadership, if that creates a better society, let us have it. That's what happens in China. That's what happens in North Korea, South Korea. That's what happens in anything that is not regulated. Anything that is unregulated is not what
the churches should be regulated.
No, hold on. I said churches. Remember I talked about the medieval times.
Yes.
From the 15th century. Go and read the works of John Calvin. Whatever structures of state that govern the strength of Europe, that govern the strength of America, was codified from the Bible. Yeah. They were called the Puritans. The records are there.
You're right.
They may not, it may not be very, the countries may not be very religious, but the bedrock, the nexus of their strength was drawn already.
Even legality.
Yes, and they are living it even where they are not, they can say they are atheists, right? They don't go to church.
Yes.
But what they practice was drawn
from the Bible.
From the Bible. So they've sowed that seed already. That is what we are not having here.
Okay.
Right? When you even believe in the principle of just only love your neighbor as yourself.
That's enough.
That's enough. Love your neighbor as yourself can translate to so many things.
Yeah.
For example, when the time comes for the promotion of a gentleman, he is your neighbor. Promote him.
Yes.
When the time comes to pay salary, don't victimize your neighbor. When the time comes to do the needful, I'm only talking of civil service. Please do. And then as a civil servant, work ethics. You cannot on a Monday morning by 11 o'clock be doing prayer meeting in your office because you love Jesus. There's time for everything. These things are the things that have put our state to a pariah state. I have seen a situation as the Director General Orientation. I have seen a situation where you go to the secretariat and you see people clapping, send the light, oh Lord Jehovah, oh send the light. By 11 o'clock, God has sent the light already in our bedrooms. He has sent the light in our hearts. That was the time to give back to the state your energy.
But that could be their break time.
No, hold on. No, I said by 11. By 11, by 1,
12.
No, hold on. Well, fantastic defense. All I'm just trying to state is that there is time for everything.
Yeah, sure.
Now, they came to, remember, they went to do school runs, taking their children to school between 7:30 and 8:30. And they even came late. And by 9:10, they were doing their prayers. And by 12:01, they are going for school runs in the afternoon. And when they come back, they just sign out and close because it's civil service work. The Bible recognizes that he who does not work should not eat. The Bible recognizes it.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that the church did not entrench its codified teaching in the heart and minds of our people. When you love God, why will you be involved in yahoo? Why will you shortchange the state? Why will you be unfair to your neighbor? Why will you not do the things that are right? When these things are done, when we do our bits, based on the commandments given to us by God already, the state will be better. But what we have is a mediocre system. Why should there be, sorry please, why should there be sex formats in our tertiary institutions? When it is clear, stated there, the laws are clear from God, because our legislations are derived from somewhere. It didn't fall from up. It didn't fall from anywhere.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lilibet.
Okay, so we've been talking about the challenges that churches are facing. So how can church now, how can they overcome these challenges and stay true to its mission and values?
The church needs a rejig. The church needs a total orientation process. The leaders of the body of Christ need to sit back on a retreat. On a 40-day retreat, on a 50-day, on a 10-day retreat, and sit back and draw a thin line between the service of God and the service to themselves. Because service to God is service to humanity. So having done that, they need to create a purge process. A system where you have only people who have the mindset to serve God through humanity doing that. But it's going to be a little bit challenge because there's going to be a kind of profiling. You don't just wake up because you have some knowledge of the Bible and cash on the vulnerability of people and open a church. That is what China is saying shouldn't happen in their society because it's being run to abuse. But here they say 1 or 2 persons, once they are called by my name, I'm there with them. In as much as we agree with that, to every general rule there's an exception. Nigeria must have its own grown model on how to check the certain imbalances that is being caused by religious proliferation, especially the church. I give you a critical example. You don't just become an imam. You don't just become an imam. And if you black them, they behead you. In as much as I am not subscribing to
that kind of
extremism, I am saying that there's the need for a check and balance in our religious system. It could be very tough, but with time we'll get it right. It shouldn't be a free-for-all.
The church has come. The church has come.
The church is polarized. No. What about PFN? What about PFN? No, hold on. They will have like 5 different bodies. The church should have one. It's a body of Christ. Do you agree with that?
I don't have any.
Well, no. You see, I know you're not a pastor.
I have no.
But you have. But I judge most of us as persons with the right mentality to be able to give the right orientation through the mediums that we operate, e.g. DBS. to change our world, because the changing of Nigeria begins with us.
So you're saying that, they should have one, not can.
First of all, I strongly suggest that the body of Christ should come together as a body of Christ. The body of Christ is not two. They preach one and indivisible Jesus Christ. Am I correct? That's how I see it.
Yeah.
I may need some lectures from you people if I'm not on the right perspective. But the thing is, the church should unify. You can have different quasi bodies.
Yeah, because I thought NLC has Pengasyn, TUC. There are many of them now. And then the Christian.
You see, you are just opposing spirituality with the carnal man.
Yes.
Pengasyn atheists are in Pengasyn. Muslims are in Pengasyn. African traditional worshippers like us now are in Pengasyn too. You are in Pengasyn because the end product of Pengasyn comes to your car. But the thing, because you are the end user, you pay for the services, so you should be interested. I just gave you an example. Nigeria has not been able to build refinery in the last 30 years. The refineries that were built in the days of Shehu Shagari, we have the Kaduna refinery, we have the Warri refinery, and the Warri WRPC, we have the Port Harcourt and Eleme refinery. We've not been able to maintain our refineries. We've been doing turnaround with billions of dollars. And one man from somewhere in Kano State, His Excellency, because it's actually the Excellency that I know. Excellency should go to those who desire it, who deserve it. Came and built one of the biggest refineries in Africa and by station in the world and into production.
Yes.
And Pengasyn and we government want to help him regulate his own. I don't know. What's the issue? We want to help him regulate his own. Look, they are talking about, we're not going to, that conversation is for another day. But I'm telling you,
yes.
Do you know that the church can build a refinery and regulate it? Have you given that a thought? Just as they built universities. But unfortunately, the universities they built, those that contributed the money to build the university cannot afford it. They built secondary schools. The children of the poor men cannot afford it. And you know what? Ironically, some big alhajis, without prejudice, some strong African traditional worshippers, some atheists who do not worship God but have money, are the ones their children are in the school, but the school built by. Are you there with me? So if you juxtapose what is happening in Nigeria, you see that it's a Fuji house of a fun. Everybody is catching cruise. And that's what the likes of Without Prejudice. I don't subscribe to certain comrades and what they're saying, but I just speak truth from what sometimes I look at what Showore says, Moyole Showore. I just look at what the man has dedicated his life into. And sometimes I align with some of his teachings. I align with some of his principles. That we need more selfless persons in the house of God. It shouldn't be about private jet. In all fairness, hello there, fellow Nigerians, I want to ask this question. Does the poverty level in Nigeria, does what we see in today's Nigeria, aligning with the doctrine of being your brother's keeper, justify anybody flying a private jet of about $30, $40, $50 million? With the IDPs in Benue State?
Yeah.
With what is happening what has happened in Okuama, with the poverty level and insecurity in Otolokoma village, with what is happening across Borno State, with the level of insecurity in Kwara State. And so that takes us to the place of God in our lives, the place of God in humanity. Because we've been told that it is vanity upon vanity, and it goes to vanity. But from what is playing out, it is very, very clear that some of people are already in the paradise here on earth. So who is fooling who?
So looking at the president, he's very big on taxation, sir. And it's gathered that religion somehow contributes an estimated 10 to 12 of Nigeria's GDP. Should the government partner with churches? Should the government tax churches?
That's a tall order. First of all, I want to commend the governor for closing the tax gap. Because in England we have, the present governor, His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is to close the tax gap. Because we Nigerians, when we go to London, we file for our tax. Regularly, I file my tax abroad. I do that. Then why should I not pay my tax here? But then, that is where the doctrine of the social contract comes in. The government must be able to give before taking. You must create the ease of doing business. Yeah. You must create an enabling environment to be able to do business. You must create the needed incentives for people to do business, make profit, and pay their tax. And you know the beautiful thing about tax? If you file your tax and you file properly and you're running low, there are ways in more advanced societies where the government pays you.
So the churches be taxed?
No, we're headed there. Okay. We're headed there. The churches are actually registered as not, they are registered as
non-profit organizations.
Non-profit organizations, and there are regulations to it.
Right.
And in advanced economies where the law works, the government can review the financial processes of those organizations. Okay. But again, unfortunately here, if you look at how those churches are registered, most of those churches are registered like a business. The next of kin is the wife, and then the next director is the son. Mm-hmm. You understand? Yeah. And when they want to do their corporate social responsibility, they build a university in their village. So the pastor has the right most times, the head pastor, to dip his hands into the coffers and buy a private jet and buy a car of his own. So when you see that and you just oppose that with the taxation laws of our country, then they should pay their tax. Yes, because it's a profitable organization registered as a non-profitable organization. So before you say the churches should be taxed, the government has to do its own bit by a complete profiling of the churches. The ones that are not provided should be shut down, and Jesus Christ will be happier to see that his name is not being used in vain. This shall not use the name of the Lord in vain. Jesus Christ will be happier to see that his name and his institution is not being used as a business center. Having done that, having gotten the profile of the churches, we now said, okay, these bodies that are registered, what does the law say? Those that are registered as a corporate social entities, you just go and pay their tax because it's a business. But those that are registered as bodies as trustees, holding for a group of persons in the service of God. For example, I know people that work in Salvation Army in America and in Canada. They work and they pay their tax. They pay their tax, right? They pay their tax. They work there. They earn salaries. They pay their tax. And here, the pastors, most of them don't pay tax. Most of them spend from the church. And it's all about taking and taking and taking and taking. So the vulnerability of our people should be protected by the government of the day. It's a tall one that requires us to look exclusively into the process of our taxation. But the tax net, however you look at it, President Bola Tinubu, thanks for closing the gap. Do more. Close it up. Close it up.
All right.
Okay. Thank you for speaking to that tax, because most persons say it's a spiritual organization, it's a church, it's God's house, you're not supposed to pay tax. But if you're collecting the tithe offering...
Okay, I have a question for you, Libet. Okay. How much of every Sunday tithe or collection is being taken to heaven?
It's given to the poor.
It's given to the poor. What are the yardsticks of this church? You see, the church cannot look elsewhere. Hold on. The government cannot look elsewhere. That's why... You see, when you have righteous people in power, certain things should not even be debated. If we have the right persons in the system, with the right mindset, we won't be debating these issues. You know what? They will do the right thing. The Catholic Church, for example, is headed in Rome. Yeah. It is well structured. It is well structured.
It's a blueprint for it.
Yeah, not that they won't have issues here and there. The Lutheran churches are there, the Church of England is there, and some other churches.
Controversies.
But the country is there. I mean, we're human, people are there too. But the thing is, we can just come up and say, hopefully International Church of God, and I become the head pastor, somebody becomes the treasurer, and we just do one or two things, some fishy things and miracles everywhere, and there's so much money, and you say the government should stand and stare. That's an irresponsible government. That's rascally. The government is now saying, look, we need to see, okay, put it this way. The government and religious organizations need to sit down and talk. There's the need for business. Put it this way. There's the need for spiritually inclined churches and business inclined churches to sit with the order of the day, which is the government, to negotiate, because the funds that goes within the system of the church is richer than the state. Are you aware of that?
I don't know.
Oh, I'm telling you, I'm giving you facts. No, I'm giving you facts. And I will give you statistics. The church is richer than the state.
We're going to turn off the mics now. But before we go, because we have spoken so vehemently about some things that are not right with the church, I want to now pose a question to you. What has the modern day churches in Nigeria gotten right so far?
Okay, thank you so much. The churches in Nigeria, I want to say kudos to you in the direction that I want to head now. First of all, the churches in Nigeria has been able to market a particular product, and that church can be very good business.
This is sarcasm, though.
No, it's not sarcasm. I'm going to drive it home.
All right, drive it home. Very
I have attended seminars and workshops where people are retiring from the civil service and from service, and they are asking them, what do you want to do? One of the proposals is to open a church. It's there. The church is a profitable business. It's been driven very, very well. Most pastors are not poor people, because at the end of the day, it's a matter of getting people seated, and then they are able to use the Bible to spread the message, looking very well at the gaps in the society. Most of the things they are marketing here cannot fly in England. Most of the things we are selling here cannot fly in America, because your head, how can your prayer partner, your prayer point be that you should not be kidnapped?
AK.
Or that you should go to the health, that you take paracetamol, and that the paracetamol should work.
Thank you so much.
Get me on another day. Let's take a discussion.
Very big issue. And interestingly, that's how we say goodbye to you on Morning Rider. Big well done to Barrister Eugene Uzum. He is the immediate past special advisor to the governor on orientation and currently executive director, Core Values and Orientation, or Core Values Orientation and Leadership Center in Abuja. It's good to have you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very
We'll
much.
talk about the church after we're done.
Thank you. Thank you for
And
having
so
me.
we're saying our goodbye. So from Lilifer to Gochuku.
Yes, well, no one can live without vision. So you need to be a man of vision, because a visionless man is a blind man. Stay well.
And stay well. Stay with us right here on Delta Television at 10